Alright, it's Barry and today on Grow It I've got an allotment update for this month. It's the end of June and everything is growing really well. We've had a bit of a mix of weather over the last week, but on the whole it's been really quite warm this month and it's been absolutely roasting today. The worst part really is that I've been working loads this month between my job, and for new viewers that don't know, I'm also going into my last year of a degree in biology, which means I've got quite a bit of extra stuff to do over the summer towards that, so I've not been able to get as many videos done over the last couple of weeks, and I'm a bit behind on getting jobs done in the allotment as well. But hopefully I'll be able to catch up on quite a bit of that this month. And first off today, let's have a look in the Polytunnel. So here we are in the Polytunnel, and first up in the entrance is the bulk of my tomato plants. They're all in full swing now with the money makers along the back. They have wilted a bit because, as I mentioned, it's been red hot in here today, and I've only been able to water them first thing this morning, but I'll be giving them a really good watering in a couple of minutes and then they'll be back to normal perfectly fine. As you can see, I've got a couple of tomatoes on the way on this plant here, and at the moment they're all starting to flower, which is a really great sign. I've got the Beefmaster tomatoes here at the front, and these get the brunt of the sun, so these are a bit more wilted than the others, but as I say, they're going to get a good watering in a minute and then they'll be perfectly fine. I can't believe how big the flowers are on these. They're absolutely enormous, and I've got a couple of tomatoes here as well. Next to those at the front, I've got my indigo rose tomatoes, and these are doing great as well, although they aren't growing quite as rapidly as the other varieties, but they're doing okay, so I won't complain. And these have still got those really nice green and purple stems and leaves, which was one of the things that I quite liked about the seedlings, so I'm really looking forward to seeing how these tomatoes turn out. Just behind the cucumber plants, along the back, I've got my broad bean plants, which are all ready for harvesting today. The plants are looking a bit worse for wear now, so they're going to be coming out today as well, just to make a bit more room now that the cucumbers are getting a bit bigger. Here's the masterpiece green beans, and I'll just open these up. Oh, look at those, they look absolutely fantastic. I wonder if I can find some pink ones. Here we go, let's crack these open. Look at the colour of those. These are the Karmazin variety, and I'm really happy with these. I'll take all of these home today and bag them up for freezing to keep them fresh. While I'm here, I've got a few peas to harvest as well. These didn't do as well, and I think it was just because they were slow getting going in the grow bags, and it was probably just because of the high nutritional content in the bags being a bit too much for the pea plants. I'll just have a look inside one of these and see what we've got. There we go, they're really nice, and I'll just eat these like this. They're so sweet and they're really delicious. Most of them don't even make them home. The main thing for me this year is the cucumbers, which are doing great. I've got quite a few flowers on these now, blackbird, which are already showing cucumbers growing, and I'm really trying to make sure that I keep on top of these with the training and the pruning to keep all that energy focused on flowering and growing fruit. I think next year I'll try and get these at the back because they are a bit big now for moving, but I'm sure they'll be fine. I've swapped out the canes for some bigger ones to make sure that they can carry on growing upwards towards the ceiling. The rhubarb plant is doing amazing in here as well. It's absolutely loving it, and it's huge. I've had a couple of stalks from this already, considering it was only a crown that went in the ground in February when I put the tunnel up, and I'm not actively harvesting it from this year, but it's just naturally split away as the plant grows from the centre outwards, so you're as well just keeping them and make the most of them, and they are also extremely tasty. I almost forgot, outside is my cherry tree, and these are ready for picking today as well. I've been keeping a close eye on these over the last couple of weeks to make sure that they don't get pinched by the birds. I've had some netting over them just to make sure that they can't get to them. This is the tree's second summer, and it's the first time it's flowered and had fruit on it, so I'm really pleased with how this is getting on. I'm going to get all these picked now and see what we've got. There we go, some beans, peas and cherries to take home today. They're all going to be really, really tasty, and they definitely won't last very long at all. I picked up some heavy duty weed membrane to get covering the beds because the amount of weeds and the rate that they grow is just way too much for me to keep up with, and the majority are growing from rhizomes underground and they're just spreading everywhere, so they're really hard to get rid of without using industrial strength weed killer, but I don't really want to use that on any of the areas that I'm going to be growing food, so I'm just going to rely on the weed membrane to do its job, and it says it's got a 25-year guarantee as well, so yeah, that's nice to know. The corn is doing alright up to now. I've got 6 incredible variety there at the front, and then I've got my Fiesta heirloom plants just behind those, which are a lot smaller. I have put that weed membrane down in here as well because this is also inundated with those rhizomes and weeds, so just to keep that back and to give the corn the best chance, I put all that membrane down on here as well. I'm also going to be setting up a Brassica cage today for my cabbages and my sprouts, and rather than build something, I've got an old gazebo which I'm going to set up as normal, and then rather than use the cover on it, I'm going to cover it with some scaffold debris netting which will keep the birds out. I'll get that set up first, and then I'm going to have a look what's lurking underneath this carpet. It's been here for a year, and as you can see, it's sort of become one with the grass. So I'll get that frame built, and then let's have a look what's under here. Well, I've already discovered that there's a corner missing from the frame, but it's nothing a bit of gaffer tape can't solve. There we go, that's all netted now, and as I tried to put the legs on, all the other corners snapped off as well, so there's no legs going on this for now, and I'm just going to have it like this weird green pyramid in the middle of my allotment, but I'm sure I'll be able to sort that out later. I'll get that out of the way, and then let's get this carpet pulled up. Well, that was extremely satisfying. It's come up perfectly, and there was more grass on it than I actually realised. Underneath is completely burst soil, apart from the odd rhizome that's lurking, and I'm going to be covering this with weed suppressant straight away to make sure that no more grow. There we go, 2 rows will be okay for now, just to keep that patch weed free. I quite like the pyramid because I can just lift it up and move it when I need to, so it's not going to be that bad for now. I'll just have to sort out some extra height as the sprouts get bigger. Finally, I'm in the main greenhouse, and the main plants in here are the chilies, which are all on the rack in here, and they're doing well now after the initial slow start thanks to the cold spring that we had. I've got Moruga Scorpion, Naga Viper, Scotch Bonnet and Carolina Reapers in here at the moment, and these are all doing really good. I'm really pleased with how these have turned out considering the bad start. They're really starting to catch up, so we'll see how they are when we come back next month. Over here is my onion scraps plant, and these are at the end of the life cycle now. The onion plants are flowered, and as you'll notice, they're really quite similar to the close relative alliums, except they've been bred for ornamental coloured flowers, while onions haven't, and just have these white flowers, which are still quite nice looking. I think this may very well be the last update for this experiment, depending on what happens to these next. If you haven't seen the setup for it, I'll leave a link in the description. And it's taken over a year to get to this point, and I even managed to keep it alive through the winter, so I'll be sad to see this one go. Finally, over on this side, I've got my tomato food experiment for this year. I gave them a pruning the other day. Again, like the cucumbers, I want to try and keep on top of these to make sure that there's no secondary stems getting established, and keeping everything to the main stem to keep the energy expenditure focused on flowering and fruit development. If you haven't seen the setup for this experiment, check it out after this video and you'll be able to see what's going on here and how I set it all up. Essentially, I've got 8 Gardener's Delight tomato plants all growing here in pots, with each plant being fed a different commercially available plant food to see which one has the most positive effect on tomato production. Let's have a look at how the plants are getting on and what the results are so far. So we'll start with the smallest plant, and that is the one that is getting the Wilkinson's fish blood and bone meal, and this one has been the smallest right from the start, and you'll even notice that there is something going on with the leaves there. They've got this really weird yellow burning around the edge of the leaves, which is linked to nutrition. I can't remember off the top of my head exactly which one it is, but it was quite considerably smaller at the start and it didn't really start growing for a couple of weeks, so there is definitely something to watch there. Just moving on along, we've got the biggest plant, which is the one that is on bone meal, which, considering the other powdered fertilizer is the one that is the worst, this one is doing the best. It is absolutely enormous, and it's also covered in loads of flowers as well, so I'm really pleased with how this one's getting on. One thing I've noticed along here is this is the one that is just getting water, and you'll see that the leaves on this are really yellow, which again links to a nitrogen deficiency, so this one is definitely not getting all the nutrients that it needs, and it is looking pretty sad, to be honest, and it is just sort of localized down to the bottom of the plant, but that might actually just spread on upwards. But it is what it is, and I've got these plants in here for this very reason, so I am just going to keep going with the way that they're going, and we'll just see how that affects them all in the end. Finally, I'm here at my grow tent just to show you something that I'm in the process of setting up at the moment to really ramp up my lettuce production. I grew a couple of lettuce seedlings to get this up and running with, but they were on the kitchen window, so they've gone a bit leggy and they aren't the best, but I'm going to put them in anyway while I germinate some more, which should be a bit easier now under the grow light, and they'll get a bit more light and they should hopefully turn out a bit better. I've just got the one set up in here at the moment, although I do have the parts to double this, so I am going to be doing that over the next couple of weeks, and I've got it set up for 8 at the moment, so that'll double it up to 16, but I'm fairly sure I could probably fit another 4 down the middle, which would give me room for another 8 as well. So yeah, I'm going to be doubling this up in the next couple of weeks, and I'll probably do a video about that as well. I'm keeping these lettuces going for now just to see how they get on under the grow light, which is of course the Spider Farmer SE5000 as featured in my unboxing and setup video, which again I'll leave links for in the description. I did actually manage to find a way to get it to fit in horizontally inside the tent, which is fantastic. It does mean I can lower it right down and get the light as close to the plants as possible, and in this case it is only on 10% power, which is fine for these plants at this stage. That's it for these for now, and I'll check in on them next time and we can see where this is up to. Well, that's all for this update, and I hope everything is growing amazingly well in your allotments and gardens at home. Make sure you let me know in the comments if you've had any early harvests this year, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out on any of my other updates and videos throughout the summer months to help get the most out of your plants this year. I'm getting absolutely eaten alive by mosquitoes, so I'll see you next time.